What's up, you guys? Chase the Dark Sage here, and today we're back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, or as I like to call it, Black Panther 2, until I actually went to go see the movie last night. Now, honestly, when it comes to Black Panther, I liked him more in some of the comic iterations and some of the actual animated series that he was included in. But when it actually came to the movie that he was in, his own movie, it was alright. I think he was way better in Civil War, but honestly, when it comes to Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I think it's top 5 MCU movie of all time as of right now. This movie felt so different compared to previous movies. This movie didn't even really feel like a superhero movie, and honestly it felt like a fresh breath of air just watching this movie. And the actual runtime itself didn't even seem too long. Like, I felt captivated throughout this whole movie. But before we actually get to talking about this movie and honestly how great it was, make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow me on all my other social media platforms down in the description down below. But let's go ahead and talk about the plot of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Also, this plot synopsis will be from IMDb because I don't know how much information you guys have, so let's go ahead and get into it. The people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa. We obviously know that Namor and Riri Williams is in this movie, so obviously Namor's people is messed up, Wakanda's people is messed up, and the world government is just putting their nose into people's business that shouldn't belong there. And that's all I'll say without giving you guys spoilers of the movie. I think that it's best that you don't really know what actually goes on in the movie because honestly, when watching this movie, it was beautiful. It was amazing. I did not expect an MCU movie to really grab me like this, especially within the phase that we're in right now. To me, this is easily the best Marvel movie that's come out this year, which really isn't saying much, but honestly, this is one of the best Marvel movies to come out in a long time, honestly. But with all that glizzy writing, let's go ahead and segue into some of my pros that I have with this movie because honestly, I have a good amount of pros with this. For instance, the acting is great, especially when the emotional scenes hit. They hit. We also got the plot too that I think is phenomenal because I think with the main plot and the villain plot happening in this movie and the way that they collide, I think it was beautifully and masterfully done. I honestly felt for the villains and I felt for the heroes. I haven't felt this way since Infinity War with Thanos, which I think Thanos was a bit extreme, but you get my point. The action was great. I didn't expect for this movie to have so much action, and honestly, it was very, very welcomed. I really enjoyed this movie. And another exceptional pro that I have with this movie is that the tone of this movie was fantastic. Sadly, we all know that the actor Chadwick Boseman who played T'Challa died, and they actually play upon that theme in this movie, and you could feel his presence actually kind of gone, and you could feel the sorrow that everybody has with their King of Wakanda actually gone. So I will say shout out to Marvel for having this great theme and not making this a very comedic movie like Thor Love and Thunder was. They definitely went the opposite. If there was two spectrums of MCU movies, Thor would be on the left side right here and Wakanda Forever would be all the way over here. It was pretty drastic in tone. I didn't expect for this movie to be so serious, especially with what we've been getting with the MCU lately. I'm not gonna dog on the MCU like everybody has for all the great things that they've done, even though they've had a few hiccups here and there in this phase. But yeah, this movie, the tone was excellent, and there was a few jokes spread out here and there, which I thought were welcome. Some jokes were kind of corny, but some jokes actually made me laugh. So honestly, I love the tone of this movie. And since we had to kind of talk about Chadwick Boseman, the actor who played T'Challa, passing, I will say that the tribute that they give to him in this movie was beautiful. It was masterful. It definitely will make you sad, and man, it kind of makes me want to tear up now on this camera right here. Even just the little MCU comic flip logo thing, it was beautiful. Another pro I have is that this movie doesn't feel connected to the rest of the MCU movies, which feels fantastic. I think one thing that Black Panther 1 got great was that it didn't feel like it was connected to a bigger universe itself, but that it was so focused on what was happening in Wakanda that it felt like a solo movie. And I think the MCU needs more movies like that. With Wakanda Forever, it doesn't try to set you up for this huge thing happening later on with, Kang the Conqueror and all that. It just solely focuses on what's happening right there in Wakanda and the things happening around it. So honestly, that felt great as well. It didn't feel daunting to see oh, we're gonna have a post-credit scene of something random happening with the Wakanda people really having to do something to stop Kang. I really liked that aspect that this movie went for, and this feels so great. And I know I kind of spoke about this a little bit before, but the runtime was actually pretty good. I thought with this movie being super long, I thought I was gonna be bored out of my mind, but honestly, I was watching this movie, the pacing was great, the character acting was great enough to keep me enthralled in this world that they was putting right in front of my face, and I was entertained for the whole movie. This is one of the best MCU movies. Now, will I watch it again? Most likely, yeah, because I'm definitely gonna buy this on Blu-ray, but it definitely had to be one time where I have a good amount of time to just sit down and watch this movie, because whenever I watch this movie, I want to make sure I don't have my phone on me, and I want to be encapsulated with what the movie is actually bringing me again. And my last pro has to be some of the new characters introduced in this movie with Riri Williams and Namor. I think that they both had great introductions. Riri Williams brings that comedy that I love, especially from a black woman, and Namor brings that seriousness that I definitely needed, and that new element of the MCU with him being a mutant and all, and just showing a new type of people being introduced in the MCU as well. So I think this movie was great. Both of their introductions were great in this movie, and honestly, even though they were two separate characters, I think that both of the balances that they bring to this movie were pretty fantastic, and it was very realistic. But enough with all the glizzy writing. It's time for me to give you my cons, which I really only have 2 cons, and they're really just nitpicks. And the first one has to be with the green screen usage, because you can tell in some scenes when they get closer to the characters, the background just looks super fake. I'm gonna just be real with you right there. A lot of the times when it comes to these MCU movies, I'm so encapsulated with the movie that I don't really even notice the background, or they just make it look so good with the VFX and all that, you know, I don't really notice it. But with this movie, you can kind of see that they're using a green screen a bit every now and then, and it threw me off every now and then. But besides that, it didn't just take me off the rails of this movie and what I was watching. So it wasn't jarring too much, but you could definitely notice it. And my last con, and it's just a little bit of a nitpick, because honestly, I just thought that there was this one backstory where something happened in it, and like I said, to nitpick, it just don't make sense. Like, it just felt very convenient at the time, and so I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna just, you know, subvert my actual logic within this scene, and, you know, I'm gonna still enjoy it for what it is. But I literally watched it in the movie theater, and I was like, huh? How? But besides that, honestly, those are my only cons with this movie. Now, I could be writing off the recency bias of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but honestly, like I told you guys earlier, I didn't really like Black Panther 1 like that. I liked it for the movement that it was, but I didn't really like it as a movie. I thought the movie was mid. I thought T'Challa was an actual boring character in that movie compared to everybody else, because everybody else has so much personality compared to T'Challa, with him being so noble and so honorable. So with this movie right here, to me, this blows Black Panther 1 out the water. No disrespect to Chadwick Boseman. I hope no one takes that disrespect to him. He's a great actor. I've seen him in other things. He's definitely a great actor. It was definitely the material that he was given that really wasn't great to me, for him to really just be that great actor that he was. And with that being said, I gotta give another RIP to Chadwick Boseman, because man, his presence is definitely missed. I would have loved to see him, you know, take up the Black Panther mantle one more time at least, but you know, sadly we had to get that in Endgame. And you know, I'm grateful for all the movies that he has done up until now, because we all know his problems that he was going through, so we're not going to touch upon that in this video. But RIP Chadwick Boseman. I hope his family is doing great. I hope his family is actually supporting this movie as well, because man, that tribute at the beginning and kind of at the end, fantastic. But with all that out of the way, it's time for me to give you my final verdict. And honestly, I was enthralled and I was overjoyed watching this movie. I think this movie is fantastic. I think it's phenomenal, and I have to give it the rating of buy it on Blu-ray and go watch it in theaters at full price.